What up, guys? Welcome to Music Blueprint. My name is Gina Fontanella, and today's episode is going to be super fun. I actually just got back from Miami and had a very crazy trip of sorts, met some people that I never thought I would meet, and I thought I would just talk about it and how I think I met them and the reasons why I think I met them. So it all started at a little restaurant called Grails, and which isn't really a little restaurant, but it's a place where everybody likes to hang out. A lot of music people end up showing up. My manager knows a lot of the people who own that restaurant. There's like 6 of them or something like that, and he knows 3 or 4 of them. So we show up, we're hanging out. There's just music person after music person. I mean, Bad Bunny's team shows up. You know, a lot of like stylists show up that dress a lot of people in the industry. I mean, it was just like constant. So I'm sitting with my manager, and first thing that happens is Bad Bunny's team comes in. And he leans over to me and he's like, yo, that's Bad Bunny's team. And so I lean over to him and I'm like, what are you doing over here? You're my manager. Go over there and make a connection. And the reason why I did it that way, I'll say it this way. If I wouldn't have had him, I would have done it myself. Somehow, some way. I either would have like went to the DJ booth and been like, yo, I think that's Bad Bunny's team. Do you know them? Like, you know, whatever. And I would have somehow finagled my way through it. A Bad Bunny's team would have been a little more difficult because I don't really work with any of their team. They're pretty exclusive. They have their own like 20 people that they kind of run everything through, and then they do like camps and stuff like that. So it would have been a little hard because I didn't know anyone that they knew where I could be like, hey, I've worked with so-and-so, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, and then it'd be an easy conversation. But with this one, luckily I had my manager. My manager kind of knows their team anyways, and he's been in Miami for the last 10 years. So it was a really quick introduction. He knew their stylist. The stylist was there, and he was like, yo, introduce me to Bad Bunny's team, and boom. So that one was pretty easy. It was just like bada bing, bada boom. I know I made that sound like way easier than you think it probably should be. Like, you're probably thinking, well, this girl, you know, she's been in the industry for a while, or like, you know, whatever. But I'm telling you, it was literally an open restaurant. So as long as I just had the nads to go over there and say something to them, what's the worst that could happen? 1, they act disinterested, and they're like, okay, cool. And then you just say, I met Bad Bunny's team, and then nothing happened of it. Or 2, you meet them, they're like, oh, this girl seems kind of cool, or they think that this girl seems kind of cool, and then, bam, you're in with Bad Bunny's team, and maybe they'll give you a shot to have a session with them or whatever. And that was our case. Our case was, you know, Ted, my manager, kind of runs Cool and Dre's studio, and he said, hey, why don't you guys come to Cool and Dre's studio? They came by. They wanted to work there for 2 weeks, and he said, okay, cool, work here for 2 weeks. I'll give you a discounted price, but you got to work with some of my people. And then that was the way in. You had an angle. So you just got to find an angle and find a way in. Sometimes you don't have a way in, and that's really difficult. But just sit for a second and think about how you would approach them. I tend to be a little bit more extroverted and a little bit more bold. So I'm a person that will literally just go up to someone and be like, yo, if you give me the chance, I'll write your next single. And it's really ballsy because some people are like into that and some people aren't. But typically what I have found is the higher ups, you know, the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, the Bad Bunnies, the whatever, they appreciate a hustler. So if you just go up there and you have the confidence to just say that, they're like, well, this person must have the capabilities to do it if they think that they're confident enough to even say this to me. Now, I will say, if your skill set is not as good as you're portraying, please don't say that, because you only get 1 shot, really. You'd be lucky if you get 2. So if you're going to say something like that, you have got to back it up, because you can't say something like that and then they'll give you a chance. They'll always give somebody at least 1 chance. So if you're saying like, yo, I can create some crazy graphics for you. He's like, okay, cool. Here's my email. Send me some graphics. Here's some pictures that you can use. You better be able to back it up because they will use it. And then you'll start getting in that circle and then that'll start opening doors for you. So you really, if you're going to say it, please be able to back it up. So that happened at Grills, right? I'm thinking, dang, this is already a good night. Whatever. Well, then I start talking to one of the owners of the restaurant and, I'm just kicking it. I was just hanging out, eating some really good food, chilling, whatever. He comes up to me. We start chatting. And I could tell, he kind of was a business guy. He liked the ebb and flow of marketing and business and everything that went inside of that. So we started talking about business and we started talking about 7 degrees of separation, which I can go into so much depth on seven degrees of separation, but I'll try to keep it brief. But basically the concept is that there is nobody in the entire world that you are further than 7 degrees of separation. So that means, let's say if I want to get connected to somebody in India, there is some way from person to person that person is not more than 7 people away. So that means like, oh, I know my one friend that studied abroad in India. She has a friend that, I don't know, still lives in India. And then, you just keep going and then all of a sudden you end up at that person. So typically there is nobody, I don't want to say always or never, but I've yet to find anybody that is further than 7 degrees of separation away. And we were talking about this, and I said, usually in our field where we're at in our careers, it's really not more than 2 or 3. You just have to figure out how to reverse engineer it. So if I'm trying to get in contact with, I don't know, Will Smith, okay, Will Smith is the person I'm trying to get to. Who are the people around Will Smith? Do I know somebody that knows the assistant? Do I know somebody that knows his manager or a producer that worked with him one time or whatever? And then I slowly reverse engineer back from Will Smith back to the person that I personally know. And then that person will connect me to the next person that will then connect me to Will Smith or further and further until, whatever. So we're talking about this and he's sitting there and he's like, I could see something, he was thinking about something. I was like, man, what is he thinking about? Like, we're talking about this and he's like, yeah, that's so true, whatever. Well, then he goes, you know what? I've never done this. I've never connected a person that I barely knew to somebody of any notoriety in the restaurant. But he goes, would you like to meet Pitbull? And I just sat back for a second. And I said, no pressure, but yeah, I would love to. Now, I don't really want to go into all the details of craziness. I know it would be a crazy story to go down, but Pitbull tends to be a more private person, so I don't really want to go into all of that. But in essence, we end up spending the whole night with him. I end up getting involved in his camp, writing songs with his camp, and starting to work on his album and all these different things. But all that to be said, it only took a conversation with one person. I didn't know at the time that I was actually only 1 degree of separation from Pitbull. I didn't know. Had no idea. I was just kicking it with somebody that I thought, oh, this person's cool. Like, it'd be good to grab coffee with them or a drink with them, hang out, whatever. I was just being myself, having a good time, and had no idea that something like that would happen. So there's 2 things a part of that story. One, you never know how far you are from somebody. And also, I guess this is a 2-part in the one little bullet point, is that nobody's further from you than you think. You can always reverse engineer and get connected to somebody as long as you can connect the dots. So all you have to do is figure out, who do I know that would connect me to this person, to this person, to this person. And you can either work from you and work forward, or you can work from the person you're trying to meet and work backwards. I'm telling you, if you can do that and apply that at an exponential rate, you will move forward in the music industry at an exponential rate. because it's all about in this industry who you know, who you can get connected to. And sometimes you might get connected to that person, you're like, you know what, we just really didn't vibe. And that's fine. No big deal. But there are so many people in the industry that you can get connected to. The second thing is, if you are not already a person that's fun to be around or fun to hang out with or whatever, quote unquote, what I would just say, a good person, you know, your priorities are right, you're not self-centered, you're not all these different things. If you are just a good person that cares about people, wants to move forward in the industry, but also it cares about who they are with once they get to the top, you're a person that can connect to people very easily. And I was just kicking it. I had no expectations, no thoughts, nothing about what can this person do for me, none of that. I was just like, cool, this guy owns a dope restaurant. I'm hanging out. I'm having a good time. And honestly, I rarely go out. I really should probably go out more, because that's really where you connect with people, is out and about. I probably would say I work a little too hard and don't play enough. And the play is where the connections come from. So keep that in mind. That's a little side bit. But I was just being myself. I was just being interested in somebody else's life. I wasn't, you know, distracted by the fact that Bad Bunny's team was literally sitting right across from me, and I wasn't trying to force a conversation with them, even though there was somebody right in front of me who was having a conversation with me. You see what I'm saying? Be invested in people's lives. Like, if they're talking to you, engage and talk back with them. You never know who that person is, period. Now, that shouldn't be your motivation. It should just be the fact that you are trying to be a good person and you want to reciprocate how people are communicating to you and engaging with you. But if that's not enough for you, just realize at the end of the day, you never know who that person is or who they're gonna be. And people don't remember what you say to them. They remember how you made them feel. And if you didn't make them feel great, they're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. And then when you come up and need something from them, they're not going to do it for you. So keep that in mind. But mind you, I had every reason, I guess, if you want to walk across the Bad Bunny's team and just start up a conversation, try to, you know, stoke the fire a little bit more. But I didn't know who this person was in front of me. But I was like, you know what? This person's talking to me. I want to find out about their life. They seem interested. We're laughing. We're having a good time. Like, I'm not worried. I'm not a clout chaser. I'm not trying to chase Bad Bunny around and his 20 people around. Like, that's just not worth it. They got their own thing going on. They're hanging out, having a good time with their own people. I made my mark. I'm connected to them. It'll be built upon. Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm not going to build that relationship to this huge magnitude in the 2 hours that I'm at this restaurant. So the owner of the restaurant's talking to me and I'm just having a good time. And we end up having a good time. And who knew? Who knew? I didn't know. I had no idea. And I didn't know all these different things would come of it. So all that to be said, always put people first. Even when people screw you over, let them screw you over. It will come back to bite them in the butt. And everything comes back around. But when you're a good person and you put good things out into the world and you make people the focus, it comes back to you tenfold. So don't be discouraged or be upset about when people treat you wrong, or even be worried about people treating you wrong. Don't be worried when you're writing a song or a song's about to release and somebody's trying to screw you over on the percentage. Fight for what you need to fight for, but also recognize that person's going to get what's coming to them tenfold, as you are going to get what's coming to you tenfold. So what are you putting out there? If you don't like what you're getting, change what you're giving, period. So be encouraged. Know that you are not far away from anybody. You are not far away of getting connected to anybody that you want to be connected to. 7 degrees of separation, people. Nobody is that far away, and you can get in contact with that person. You just have to figure out how to reverse engineer it. All right? That's a very simple, somewhat short podcast of what 7 Degrees of Separation is about and how the awesome things, what amazing things can come from it if you just put your mind to it and really focus in on how to get connected with people and then putting people first at the end of the day. All right? That's the end of the episode. I will see you guys next Monday. Try to connect to somebody you didn't think you can get connected to. All right? Peace.